Welcome to my garden. This year I'm growing some tomatoes in some Dutch buckets. Pretty standard Dutch bucket setup with some foil bubble wrap surrounding the buckets in an attempt to keep the temperatures down. Buried reservoir over there. Drain pipes going back in. I'm growing tomatoes in Dutch buckets just because I want to. I saw somebody write that you only get like 50 or 60 chances in a lifetime if you're lucky to plant tomatoes. So even though this year I may have way too many tomatoes, why not do it? Take your chances when you've got them. Anyway, I'm planting some tomatoes in some Dutch buckets here, as well as my traditional tomatoes in my soil over there, which I'll show you in a minute. And I figured, why not compare the growth and document it along the way? And we'll see how the hydroponic tomatoes do compared to my soil-grown tomatoes. On the left, we have a big red heirloom tomato, and on the right, we have a boxcar Willie. I planted them both from seed about, I'm going to say, almost the last week of April. It is now Memorial Day, May 28th or something like that. It's in 1 month. So this is what they look like after 1 month. And I will then show you my other tomatoes over here, which are about the same size as these. This is a lemon boy. It's starting to get some blossoms on it. This is a cherry tomato of some sort. I wish I could remember the name. It's like a Sun 100, something like that. Gets little teeny orange cherry tomatoes on it. And this guy is a celebrity tomato. Got hit by some frost, but I think he's coming back. You can see some new growth right there on top. Awesome. This is a DX52. These sorry looking tomatoes are beefsteaks, and they got hit by frost. The one on the end here, he did well. He survived the frost. He's got blossoms on him. I think he's going to get some good sized tomatoes in. Ooh, look at that right there. We got a little tomato right there. Coming on. Awesome. Good signs. Weed out here. Got some lettuce out here in front. We have some celebrity tomatoes over here. One there, and one back there. Kind of getting overpowered by these awesome peas that are like 7 feet tall. So Roma tomato and another beefsteak tomato over there. That one has a red tomato on it. We have some bush beans. These are purple beans. My daughter really wanted the beans because they were purple. I don't know how to tell her that they turn green when you cook them, but you know, it's all in the marketing. Maybe she'll eat purple beans better than she'll eat green beans, even if they're not purple when she eats them. I guess we'll see. Some radishes, some romaine lettuce growing over here, some beets, and then pole beans along this trellis. Some onions. I planted some onions from seed. They may be way too late to get full bulbs on them, but they might be some good eating green tomatoes. We'll see. And then down here we have carrots, and I'm having problems with these carrots on this side. I don't know what's going on, but they are not sprouting. Those over there, doing great. Raspberries, blossoms coming on. Rhubarb plant, size of small house. Some escaped raspberries. By the way, they don't stay in garden boxes. If you plant raspberries in garden boxes, they will escape. And over here we have horseradish. Horseradish, I don't know if you've ever planted horseradish, but those flowers actually smell like horseradish, even though the part you eat is buried in the ground down there. And more escaped raspberries over here. I'm pretty sure my neighbor's lawn has about a field worth of raspberries in them. And then lastly, we have some Brussels sprouts, some garlic, some red cabbage, which I have no idea what to do with 4 heads of red cabbage. Some cucumbers, some weeds, some basil. That's what we got going this year. And we're mostly going to be focusing on the tomatoes and the difference in the growth in the tomatoes, but we'll check in on these other guys along the way. Alright, it's been 2 weeks, and we're going to check in on the Dutch buckets and see how the tomato plants compare to the soil-grown tomatoes just over yonder. So this is my big red tomato. You can kind of see how big it is compared to the bucket. Actually, maybe you can't, because it's got the green behind it. Anyway, it's about 12 inches, maybe 15 inches tall. A good thick stem. A stem in there, nice thick stem. Got a few blossoms over here. Blossoms there. And over here, we have the boxcar Willie, also with a nice thick stem and a couple sets of blossoms. So I think these are growing remarkably well. And I'm going to go over here and show you the soil-grown tomatoes. Now this guy is going crazy. This is one of the ones that I planted back in March in a low tunnel, and it is by far my best looking tomato plant. It's got tons of blossoms on it. The plant's going nuts. I got the ones next to it that sort of froze to death and are coming back. They've got a couple of red tomatoes on it, probably because they thought they were going to die. And then I've got this guy down here, he's a big beef. And then over there, a DX52. And the next to him, a celebrity who also froze to death. So, the closest one that we can compare it to is the Lemon Boy, because it was about the same size and age as the plants that went in the buckets. So, which one's better? Still kind of a toss-up if you ask me. Time will tell. We'll see. We'll check back in a couple weeks. Alright, it's been about 2 weeks. I'll take a last update on my Dutch buckets and I'll cut this video off because it's getting a little long. You'll notice, I think I'm starting to see the first real differences between the Dutch bucket tomatoes and my regular tomatoes over there in the soil. Look at the stems on these tomatoes and the size of the blossoms on these tomatoes. They are very large. You get some fruits in there. Over here on the, this is the Boxstar Willie. Over here on the Big Red, we've got some fruits developing, which are strange shaped. I did not expect that. I expected these tomatoes to be round. Maybe it's not really what it said it was. In any case, notice this stem is also super thick. You can't really see it because there's so many leaves. Maybe I need to prune some of these leaves back. A lot of the other Dutch bucket growers I see prune all the leaves off the lower part of the stem. So that's what the Dutch bucket tomatoes look like. Now let's compare it with my soil-grown tomatoes. So here's the Lemon Boy, to which I was comparing the Dutch bucket tomatoes because it was of similar size and age. You can see this one doesn't have quite as thick of a stem, doesn't have quite the foliage as the other one. It does have more tomatoes on it, so in that regard it's doing better. The blossoms aren't quite as big, the leaves aren't quite as big. So I think, strictly speaking, differences I've seen so far are that plant over there is just a much beefier plant. Both of them are. Overall, I'd say fruit production is still on par with the soil-grown tomatoes, if not the same or better than the soil-grown tomatoes. So, which is better so far? I'm not going to say anything's better so far. I'm just going to say that the hydroponic tomatoes are doing great, and the soil-grown tomatoes are doing great. So, I'm going to cut this video off. Thank you for watching, and I will start a new one with more updates in a couple weeks. Adios.